Hi, this is Susana Magenheimer, Random Artist 222, and today I'm sharing another technique short. This is something I've been doing since 2015, this one technique using modeling paste, and I've used it for many years prior to that. I love modeling paste. It's my thing. It's my jam. And no one's paid me to do this little video, so just so that's clear up front. This is a crafter's workshop stencil roses that I'm going to be using to create this effect here, which I love. It's kind of got a fresco slash ivory slash decayed kind of vibe to it that I love. And I wanted to also say that I'm using, as one of the mediums in the background, let me just put this out here so you can see. I bought the case, but this is from Cate Regan Designs. She's on Etsy, and I've been buying her watercolors, and I'm really impressed with them. They have really good granulation, really good pigmentation. Very impressed. And I am a guest brand ambassador for her, but the paints I'm using I've bought for myself. And I wanted to be really clear about that. So that's what I'm using, and you can buy these blanks to put the watercolors in. But any medium will work with this. You can put paint, you can put ink, you can use sprays. Here's one I used with sprays just to show you. A spray is basically watercolor in a bottle, but you don't have as much control, and a lot of them come with this mica that kind of blows out the effect. But it is another way to colorize them. So let me get on with the technique. And let me just get a good close-up in here. So I was on Sean Petit's design team a couple of years ago, and obviously I watched her videos, especially lately because she's had some interesting colors that she's been using that it's good to expose yourself to colors that you're not in your comfort zone. But she's also been test driving these products by Nova Color. And I noticed her using a lightweight texture paste. And as I said earlier, texture paste is kind of my jam. And so I wanted to try this. And I have to say, side by side with Liquitex, it gives it a really good go. I like the way that it applies. I like the way it takes color because it doesn't take color too much, like other texture pastes can, where you actually don't even see that you have texture paste applied because the color is so matched up, it absorbs it so well. I like to have the contrast, and that's how I get the effect that I get. Unfortunately or fortunately, they sell it in 1 quart bottles. So if that's too much and you just want to test out some modeling paste, and try Liquitex 4-ounce bottle. That's as good a product as well. And I also put this plastic around it because it is such a large container of goo that I don't want it to dry out very quickly. Not that it would, but it's always better to be safe than sorry. So for the purposes of this technique, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to black watercolor paper before I go back to the white watercolor paper that I normally would use because of the way it absorbs color. When I do white watercolor with white texture paste, I end up getting a white screen, and that's what you would be looking at, and that's no fun. So I redid this. I do love Stonehenge, and I do also love Fabriano Artistico's watercolor paper. So let's get to it. So initially I want to state that when you're doing this technique, you need to be kind of quick about it, need to know what you want to do, because you're going to apply the wash just at the point where this modeling paste is drying out. And it is a water-soluble product. So as you put the washes on to get these effects, and I'll bring this back so you can see the effects I'm talking about. In this case, it was like a fresco decay kind of effect. to get it to go into the recesses, to get it to get into some of this white that was white, now is more of a tan. You need to do several little pounces with paper towel to pull up the color, put it back, pull up the color, put it back until you're happy with it. You can see it especially in this rose here and in this rose here, how the color has been absorbed a little bit by the paste, but I pulled off a little bit with the paper towel so that I could get that effect that I wanted. So when you do this, like I said, you want to be quick. You want to practice because there is a little bit of a learning curve to it. Even I screw up now and then, and I go too fast, and I'll use as you'll see the technique, I'll use the paper towel and I'll pull off the modeling paste because I wasn't just patient enough to wait till it dried out completely. So make sure you test drive any kind of technique you do before you do it on something that is going to be super precious to you. So the first part of this procedure is taking some of the paste, and as you can see, it's pretty much like whipped cream. It won't drop off. So in the initial application of the paste, you're going to put it on some random paper that you can use as fodder, that's the new term, I guess now, for craft stash, for things that are left over, that you can use and tear out and apply somewhere else. So I always like to start kind of off the image, and then I bring it in one direction. You want to go in one direction because you do not want to have seepage. And if you start going back and forth on the image, you're going to end up with it going underneath the stencil, and that's not what you want. But you want enough of You want enough of a coating so that you have this little bit of leftover, and that's what we're going to use to create the effect. So now I'm going to go ahead and take this and put off the excess into the jar. Make sure you close the jar right away so that it doesn't dry out on you. And then you're going to pick this up. And as you can see here in the close-up, you can see that this is a raised surface right now. So that's embossed, that's lifted. What I'm going to do is create an effect where it's going to deboss and actually create recesses where color can still catch on, but where you get that cool effect. You can use any kind of paper. I prefer watercolor paper again because it absorbs color. Even on the black watercolor paper, if you want to play with more metallic watercolor papers, that might be a cool effect. I've never done that, so something I plan to try, but I like using the white watercolor paper for this kind of fresco, decayed stone kind of look. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, just for the purposes of the show, is I'm going to use a paper towel, just regular old paper towel. You want to make sure when you're doing this that you tape whatever you're using down to whatever surface, because that'll avoid buckling the paper, but I'm not doing it just for the fact that I'm just demoing this. But see, I'm going to start dragging this paste, and again, in one direction. In one direction. And I'm going to try to get off as much as I can, and you can see this is why I wanted to do it on the black paper. You can see it's starting to pull away, and you might not want every petal to be pulled away. You might want them to be alternating a little bit. But the more you pull away, the more dramatic the effect is. And what's happening, because I'm going in one direction, it's getting caught in the lip of this line art that creates this stencil. So basically that's what you want to do. And I'm going to pull this away. And you want to wash this right away because you do not want the paste to dry in the cracks. It becomes like cement once it dries. But you can see here in this impression that now I have these recessed spots, and where I do have the paste and it's showing thoroughly through the petal, it's still going to give me that color catch that I want. So if I go back to this, for example, you can see here that this is more pronounced because that's still the white part of it, but it caught the color, where other parts of it are more recessed, so the color goes in and creates a shadowing within the petal. So let me see here. Again, you want to practice till it's almost dry before you do the wash, because if I did it right now, the wash with the watercolor, the water would just erase this whole deal. So if you want to practice first, wait 5 to 10 minutes until it's completely dry. And you can tell when it's dry because it becomes, it won't feel cool to the touch. It'll almost feel like warm. And that's how you kind of know that it's dry. And when you feel it, you can feel that it's not going to come off. See, a little bit came off of my finger there. That's not going to happen. And so now let's go back to the white watercolor paper where I'm going to apply the wash for the stone effect. And now you can see the finished product and how I get to it. Okay, so now I'm going to apply the wash over the Nova colored texture paste roses. And you don't want to drown it, so you don't, because you don't want to pull off all the paste. The paste is water soluble, so you need to be aware of that. I'm going to pick up this little color here. It's kind of a gray tone. Look how that just pops. And this is giving it kind of like a stone effect, which I think is so cool. Get a little darker if you want. And then this is a wash, so I'm just going to bring in a little bit, but I don't want to soak it, because if you soak it, you will... I'm just letting that fill those spaces again so the rose pops out. So there you go. That's basically the procedure, the technique. It's just a matter of playing with it, getting used to it, and then letting it dry, making sure that the paste is dry before you start applying the color. Otherwise, like I said, this is a water-soluble product, and you could very easily just you could very easily just blow out your rose or whatever you're doing. But a wash makes it so pretty. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Please remember to subscribe and like. I truly appreciate it. Helps me get my voice out there more. Thanks so much and have a great day.